Today we're going to show you how to change the high limit thermostat on your dryer. It's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver, 1/4 inch nut driver, and maybe a pair of needle nose pliers. Let me show you how we do it. Before we begin this repair, the first thing we'll do is disconnect the power to the dryer. If your dryer has a cord on it, simply remove it from the receptacle. If it's a hardwired dryer, you'll need to locate the breaker panel or the fuse panel and disconnect the power at that source. Now the first step will be to remove 2 Phillips screws that are located about 1 inch in from either side, and they're angled outward. So if you don't have the opportunity to tilt your dryer back, you'll probably have to use a stubby Phillips screwdriver. Once you remove the screws, we'll tilt the front panel forward at the bottom and then let it disengage the 2 spring clips at the top. Now if you have room to just turn the front panel around and lean it up against the side of the cabinet, that would be fine. If you don't, you'll need to remove the 2 wires to the door switch. Slide those terminals off and disengage the harness from the harness clip, and then we'll set that front panel aside. Now with the front panel removed, we have access to the heater assembly, of which the high limit thermostat is mounted to the right hand side of it. Now with a 1/4 inch socket and ratchet, you could remove one of the screws on that thermostat mounting and loosen the other one and slide that off. But I prefer to pull the whole housing out. It's only 2 screws to get it out of there, and then you can inspect the element and the insulators and all of the terminals at the same time. So with a 1/4 inch nut driver, we'll go straight to the very back of the heater housing. And there's 1 1/4 inch hex head screw that secures it to the back heat duct. And then there is one on a little tab at the front to secure it to the base. Remove those 2 screws. You can lift up on the front of the housing and pull it out of the rear heating chamber. And we get it out here far enough that we can remove the external wires. There'll be 2 gray wires going to the thermal fuse. Just pull those off. If they're on really snug, you could use a pair of needle nose pliers to pull them off. And there's a wire going to one side of the heating element. Simply remove that. And the other one attaches directly to the high limit thermostat. Take note of the little short wire that goes from the thermostat to the heater housing. They've been known to corrode or overheat in that area, and if so, you'll need to replace that jumper wire. Remove the wire, loosen one of the 1/4 inch hex head screws, remove the other completely, and lift the old thermostat off. Now before we install the new thermostat, we'll have a look at the element and the insulators, make sure there's no signs of any arcing. Check both of the terminals on the element. Everything looks good, so we're ready to replace the thermostat. We'll slide one end under the existing screw. Install the second screw, tighten them both. Reinstall the jumper wire. Make sure it's snug on that terminal. And we'll reconnect the other heater wire. We'll slide the element into place. Before we slide it all the way back, we'll install the wires to the thermal fuse and the remaining wire to the heater element. And again, make sure all of those are snug. If they're a bit loose, crimp them with a pair of needle nose pliers. We'll line up that heater housing so the tab lines up with the screw hole. We'll reinstall that screw. And then line up the front tab over the hole in the base. Make sure both of those screws are snug and secure. We'll slide that wire back into the harness. And now we're ready to reinstall the front panel. Make sure the wire harnesses are in their proper positions. And we're ready to put the front panel back on. First, we'll reconnect the wires to the door switch. Make sure the terminals fit snugly on the switch. Place the wire harness in the clip. Now we'll line the front panel up with the cabinet, tilted out at the bottom, and we want to engage those two clips at the front edge of the main top. And if they're engaged properly, the panel should hang evenly on both sides. Now make sure that the door switch wires didn't pop out and get caught between the cabinet and the front panel. And then we're ready to reinstall the two screws. Now we're ready to reconnect the power, and our repair is complete.